My grandfather died from a heart attack in his 40s. My dad had his first heart attack in his late 30s. You know, I thought it skipped me. And partly because the doctors always said that I was so healthy, that, you know, that I'm doing the right things, that I'm taking care of myself, that I'm exercising vigorously. And there was never a mention of having a heart attack. I was never mentioned by any of my doctors, you know, until it happened.
You know, cardiac arrest is effectively when your heart is beating so fast it stops beating. And I know it's counterintuitive, but at a certain level, you know, 300 beats a minute, you're not pumping blood, generating a pulse, and so effectively you're not perfusing. The job of the heart is to send blood to the brain, to the kidneys, to the muscles, to the vital organs, and at some point it's beating too fast to do that. And so essentially a cardiac arrest is when the heart is beating so fast it's effectively not beating. In very simple terms, heart attacks are a plumbing problem, the blood flow problem to the heart, and a cardiac arrest is an electrical problem. The heart has gone into a short circuit rhythm.
I knew something was up with myself a couple days prior, and I went to the doctor, to the emergency room, and they did what doctors always did. You know, they took my blood pressure, they ran some blood tests, they checked my heart rate, and they said, you know, you're remarkably healthy. We think you're just having a panic attack. And they let me sleep in the hospital that night, and I woke up and went to work that day. And then 3 days later, I was playing basketball with the old men's league like I played in, and I told them that I wasn't feeling well and I was going to go take myself out of the game and sit on the bench. And I never made it to the bench. I collapsed on the court, and you know, was out for nearly 10 minutes. And while they did CPR, I was resuscitated by the ambulance, and I woke up in the hospital 2 days later. You know, they come so fast. You know, like I said, I feel great until I don't feel great. You know, and I never get the angina or chest pains or shortness of breath or tight chest. You know, it's just like it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, so when I met Jeff, it was, he'd had a couple cardiac arrests, but it was believed to be secondary to acute blockages. So he was appropriately, I think, in disbelief. I mean, I think he was having a hard time with the life that he was living, the life he had historically lived, the life that he wanted to continue to live, and yet how a device that was going to be with him the rest of his life fit into that. There was a real discordance, I think, in his mind. It took him a while to come around to understanding you know, what this device could do for him, and it really wasn't something that was going to hold him back. If anything, it should make him safer for his lifestyle and his family and his friends.
You know, my heart is damaged now, and the scar tissue in my heart it shorts electrically, and so I have these arrhythmias that are inherent now in my body. And so Dr. Lamb referred me to Dr. Wells to guide me through and implant the device I now have.
Well, Jeff, I think, is a perfect case of there are things we can control and things we can't control. And he was certainly living as active a life as anybody I know. You would never know when you looked at him that he's got an impaired ejection fraction. You never know that he has a defibrillator, because he's living a life that many of us without those situations couldn't live. I think what's beautiful about his story is that he's been able to, I think, resume his life essentially as unperturbed as you could ever hope someone has, in spite of dealing with this, both dealing with the medications he takes, but obviously now the implanted device that he has.
I have never had a doctor like Dr. Wells, and I leave the visits with Dr. Wells thinking I can, like this is within my grasp. And he has, you know, that ability to make me more confident about myself. you know, because I confided in him that you know, I can't do anything. I can't go for a walk. I can't go for a jog. I'm afraid to ride my bike. And he's like, well, you shouldn't be that way. And he made it clear that there were things that we could do to make me feel more comfortable getting back to my old routine.